Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time, welcome back if you've been before. Lovely to have you either way. Let's get into it. Today we're going to be talking about my TBR for the month of March, and I haven't done a TBR for a little bit. I definitely didn't do one for February because I was anticipating that I wasn't going to read that much, so I didn't want to kind of restrict myself. I generally am, sort of taking this easy. So I'm not going to do one every month necessarily. But this month I kind of feel a bit organized. I kind of know what I want to read. I may deviate from this path. Who knows? I may read almost zero. Well, probably not zero. I've got a couple that I definitely am going to read. But, we may only read a couple of them. We'll have to wait and see how things pan out. Okay, let's have a look at the books that I'm going to be reading, hopefully, in the month of March. Okay, let's start with one that I don't physically have a copy of. I've got it on order and it's due to come in about a week. So I'm hoping that it will arrive in time because it is a book that is for my Reading Around the World book club. And that is Our Lady of the Nile by Scholastique Mukasonga. I am looking forward to this one. It seems to me, from what I've read online, that it's going to be about a group of girls who go to this sort of prestigious girls' school. I believe our country is Rwanda. I will let you know if I've misremembered that. So they're in this kind of Rwandan, exclusive girls' school. And it's this book is taking place prior to a pretty major conflict that historically has happened in Rwanda. And yeah, it just sort of looks like it's going to be an interesting sort of book about Rwanda, but also just sort of about this girls' school and what kind of goes on there. So I am looking forward to it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it arrives. It's coming from America, so fingers are crossed. The other book that I am going to read, I'm taking part this month. I have another book club that's kind of related to that book club, where a book is selected each month. And I, in the past, have sometimes taken part and then sometimes not. Also, I've planned to take part because it is a book that I want to read, but I just haven't quite gotten there. So I'm hoping that I'm going to get to this one. I've borrowed it from the library. So this is Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. This is, let me tell you about the book. It says, I once heard a story about a girl who requested something so vile from her paramour that he told her family and they had her hauled off to a sanatorium. I don't know what deviant pleasure she asked for, though I desperately wish I did. What magical thing could you want so badly they take you away from the known world for wanting it? In her provocative debut, Carmen Maria Machado demolishes the borders between magical realism and science fiction, comedy and horror, fantasy and fabulism. Startling stories map the realities of women's lives and the violence visited on their bodies, both in myth and in practice. So this is going to be interesting, I think. I suspect this is going to be a series of short stories. So we'll see how we go. There's 8 short stories in this collection. So yeah, it should be an interesting one. But yeah, that's my plan, is to get to this one. I hope I will. We'll see how we go. The next ones I have are sort of ones that I'd like to get to, ones that I've been thinking about. And have some kind of motivation right now to read. The first one is one that I've been talking about reading for months now, and I desperately want to get to it. It's called The Monster of Her Age by Danielle Binks. I'm not going to go into too much about this one, other than to say it's set in Hobart, Tasmania, and we've got a main character called Ellie, who is the granddaughter of a woman who acted in some horror, I want to say. I think it's horror films. And her grandmother is dying. And she's sort of a little bit estranged and wants to make her peace. So she goes back to Hobart and sort of not only makes peace with her grandmother, I hope, but also is kind of coming to understand the legacy of her family, and maybe her place in that. So it's one that I'm really, really keen to get to, and I am feeling hopeful that March is going to be the month when it happens. Then we have a book that I'm motivated to read because I've borrowed it from the library. I keep seeing it and I was thinking about buying it. I saw it at the library. I thought I'll read it first and decide if I want to own a copy. And that is The Beatrice Prophecy by Kate de Camillo. And this is illustrated by Sophie Blackall. So basically we've got a character, a child, who did not know who she was or where she came from. She knew only that her name was Beatrice. She's found at a monastery by Brother Edic, curled up in the animal pen with the goat named Answelica. Answelica was feared by many for her sharp teeth and her hard head and her wily ways, but remarkably she had chosen to be a protector of this child, which is fortunate for Beatrice as she was being hunted by the king's men, and her presence brought danger upon them all. Our heroine would need to find a great deal of courage before our tale is ended, and oh, what a tale it is. So it sounds like a really interesting adventure with a bit of mystery. We've got a character who doesn't know who she is, possibly has lost memories, a goat protector. It just sounds like a really interesting tale. So I'm quite keen to get to this one, and I'm hoping that because I've got it borrowed from the library that I'll be motivated to get through it. Another one that I'm going to be motivated to get through because it is on loan to me is Phosphorescence by Julia Baird. Have a look at this gorgeous cover. I've eyed this book off for some time and just sort of didn't bite the bullet and actually acquire it. And my brother's girlfriend's mum, who does watch this channel, so hello, and thank you so much for the loan. I am going to try really hard to get to this one in the month of March so that I can return it in plenty of time. So this is an Australian author, and it says, how do we continue to glow when the lights turn out? All we can do really is keep placing one foot on the earth, then the other, to seek out ancient paths and forests, certain in the knowledge that others have endured before us. We must love, and we must look outwards and upwards at all times, caring for others, seeking wonder and stalking awe every day to find the magic that will sustain us and fuel the light within, our own phosphorescence. So it's a bit nebulous, I think, in terms of a description about what the book is about, but I think it's going to be, it's sort of about seeking awe and wonder in our lives to kind of motivate us and make us feel positive and happy and fulfilled in our lives. So that sounds like a really interesting one, and I am definitely keen to get to it. Hopefully the fact that it's on loan to me will motivate me to get through it really quickly. And I think the last one that I want to talk about is this one. It is Now That I See You by Emma. That's not a name. Emma. Sorry if your name is Emma. Emma Batchelor. This is a book about a male to female transition that begins and takes place in the context of what was a heterosexual relationship, and sort of tracks that relationship as it, I believe, tracks its demise. So I am really interested in this one, and the reason that I'm planning on reading it in March is that I have borrowed the audiobook of this book on the Libby app via my library. So I am keen to get to it, and I think my plan is to listen to it and to read along with it in the book. So we'll see how that goes. The audiobook is actually really short. It's only maybe 4 or 5 hours. So I'm hoping that the shortness of the audiobook will keep me motivated and kind of make sure I I get to it. So those are my books that I'm planning to read in the month of March. Let me just gather them together so I can hold them up to you. Here they are. So 2 library books amongst these, a book on loan, an audio book on loan, and one that I've just been dying to get to, plus my book that is on its way for my book club. Not super ambitious, but ambitious compared to the month of February where I only read 4 books. I'm wanting to get through, 6 books at least. And then as well as that, I've got a couple of other books that I've had on the go that I will probably just kind of keep chipping away at and see how we do. So yeah, a little bit of an ambitious TBR, I think, for the month of March. But now that I'm kind of settling into things for this year, I'm hoping that that's going to be, mean that I'll be more freed up to do more reading, which will make me super, super happy. All right, that's it from me for today. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.